Welcome to Tech Talks, the first word in insurance, a podcast by Hyper Exponential. Hi, I'm Tom Chamberlain, VP of Customer Consulting at Hyper Exponential, and your host, otherwise known as Tech. And as ever, that's absolutely everything you need to know about me. I'm delighted to welcome you to this episode of Tech Talks, where today we'll be talking to Caroline Bedford, Chief Executive of EDII. So let's get straight into it. Caroline, welcome and thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tom. Really excited to chat this morning.
Excellent. I hope I pronounced the company name correctly, because the temptation was to say EDII, but I do believe it's EDII.
I was going to give you a little badge, actually, a little merit card to say yes, brilliant. EDII stands for Educate, Develop, Innovate and Inspire. I never knew till started a startup how hard it was to name an organisation. So the name EDII came from some inspiration from a fabulous connection of mine, and I thought that everybody would understand how to pronounce the acronym, but obviously I have been sadly disappointed in that. So at every opportunity, EDII. We say, "Are you ready for EDII?
Are you ready for EDII?" Oh, I like that.
Are you ready for EDII? Yeah.
That's good, Ash, and it's good that one of your sort of, I guess, 4 pillars is innovate, because I think that's where we should probably start today. So, Caroline, to kind of kick us off, how do you reckon the insurance industry is at innovation in general? I know that's kind of a big question, but how do you see it? How's it been evolving?
So it is a big question, and I kind of look at it in as we do in a lot of ways. We kind of, what's the risk profile? How do we segment? So if we look at insurance in general, we want to segment it because otherwise it's not a homogenous mass, is it? So I would always say that if you're looking at the more general lines, you could see that in that sort of area, it's a lot more easy to innovate because you are closer to the customer. You are generally not operating in a subscription market. Whereas when we look at specialty insurance and reinsurance, in many ways, the further away from the customer you get, the harder it is to sort of make quick change. But what I would say is, innovation in itself is not one size fits all. At EDII, we always focus on innovation, the 3 levels of innovation, quite commonly known: incremental, breakthrough, transformational. And I would say that the insurance industry, or the specialty insurance industry that I work in, is particularly good at making those incremental changes, at making those sort of continuous small steps. It's moving into those bigger impact, so the breakthrough and transformational, that is naturally harder when you have to consider other parties doing it with you. And in many cases, you've got intermediaries, and then you are to some degree further away from the direct customer. So it's naturally harder. And I think it's those areas that we need to start focusing more effort on.
Makes sense. I think it's interesting that you say it's kind of harder on the specialty sort of side of things. And there's also an advantage on there as well, because I think technology, compared to some other industries, has been a bit lacking there. And there's still the sort of temptation to use Excel spreadsheets everywhere. And there's a lot of processes, which I know I've chatted on some previous podcasts around automation, and we're still talking about automation, and automation has been a thing for the last 20 years of my career, and we're still not doing it properly. And it feels like there's a lot of scope there for kind of technology driven innovation on the specialty side. And I think as you move towards maybe the more sort of personal lines areas, there's a lot of technology there which is helping. I mean, you and I can go and buy our house insurance, car insurance relatively easily, but the way that insurance is purchased in the sort of specialty and reinsurance is still very manual, and potentially that opens the door a bit for innovation.
That's the opportunity, isn't it? So in the specialty, we're not seeing exponential rate of change yet, but we are definitely seeing growth in behaviour, in interest. So as you've just sort of described, yes, automation. At EDII, we are seeing a massive increase in one of the products that we do, which is called Digital Safari. And by product, I mean it's sort of educational tool teaching people about emerging technology. So one of our Digital Safaris started last year, focusing on IoT, focusing on machine learning, artificial intelligence, Web3 capabilities. And that was lovely, potted along. It got the level of interest that it needed. We are taking booking after booking now, because the interest level in generative AI, the explosion of its capabilities since ChatGPT opened the doors, but it's not the only generative AI model out there. But it's really reinforced the message to the specialty insurance market that their clients are using this technology. Our clients are using this technology. Our clients are starting to experience different risk as a result. We need to adapt our risk as a result. So we are seeing levels of interest exponentially increase as opposed to maybe this time last year.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, change is happening rapidly. I mean, generative AI has taken a sort of a huge step forward and sort of lowered the entry level for some of these more difficult technologies. But it feels from what you're saying, there's going to need to be a bit of a skill shift. Everything is changing, technology is changing, and how do we? I mean, what even skills do we need going forward? Because presumably we're going to need to change those because we're not living in the same world, and things like generative AI will really transform us.
Absolutely. People who we do a sort of show of hands in a workshop or a conference and what have you. Hands up who uses ChatGPT. You asked this question 6 months ago, you'd get just a few early adopters. Now you would get more, but if you ask the question, hands up who uses ChatGPT at an enterprise level through their organizational systems, the answer is still no. So that's where those big changes are going to happen. Just on the breakfast news this morning, in the education sector, teachers are now starting to be educated on how to use generative AI, large language models, to create lesson plans. So they recognise that there is capability there, and rather than put your head in the sand, let's use these capabilities. And I would say that teachers are probably representative of a traditional profession who've learned in a certain way. So in terms of the insurance sector, you can probably draw parallels. You can draw parallels there. That we have got a lot of, if we look at the London insurance market, for example, what's that, 45,000 people supporting it, something like that. And then if I think back to the last census that was done, the London Matters report, I think they said then that 80% of the market workforce was aged over 30. So that's significant, isn't it?
Yeah.
The majority of those, therefore, certainly the 40-50s, are not digital natives per se, although they're digitally comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm mid-50s. I'm really digitally comfortable. I've been in insurance and technology since the late 80s, and change is opportunity. But what we're looking at is the skills that people need. And I think 3 or 4 years ago, when these kind of reports were done, people were saying you need to be more data scientist, you need to be able to low code. I think we've moved away from that now, and it's far more about digital fluency, or at least removing digital fear, and getting people comfortable that knowing what these knowing the capabilities is really important, but moving those two together means being able to be a creative problem solver, be able to be agile, be able to adapt. Those are the sort of skill that I see people really flourishing with, those ones who are open to explore and to continue to learn.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like your phrase, digital fluency. It's going to be really critical going forward. And you mentioned that, even now when you ask that sort of question around who's using generative AI at an enterprise level for that, and there's still sort of tentative and not much going on. Do you think that, particularly in the insurance side, do you think that's down to this digital fear or lack of skills, or is it also use cases. So where can we actually do this? You mentioned teachers using this for lesson planning, which sounds like a really great idea. And people have found their own sort of personal use cases, and a friend of mine uses it to help him write bedtime stories for his little kid, and being a great dad and stuff, which I think is pretty awesome. But finding those real key use cases at an enterprise level can be tricky as well. So is it the skill set, or is it the use cases, or is it maybe a combination thereof at the moment?
I think you've got to know what's on offer to be able to help you figure out what sort of problems to solve. So this is why we think that digital fluency, I think, is really important, because the more you learn about what the art of the possible is, it opens up a lens on things that you maybe didn't even know were a problem or an opportunity to start with. But definitely, technology is a tool. We've seen in the past, one of the reasons why blockchain came to the sort of fashion parade, the London Technology Fashion Week. Blockchain was all over it 5-6 years ago, but it was too early. Yeah. It was too early. But also, it was seeking to bring in a technology for a problem that nobody was really experiencing at that stage, or it wasn't feeling the pinch of it. So, as you said, the key is technology really thrives when it's solving a genuine problem. And the use cases, what problems do we want to solve? So what I would always say is, in insurance, in specialty, or any kind of insurance, what do? We protect customers from financial risk of, financial result of loss at the moment. Let's look at use cases then. So those customers, their business models have changed, their behaviours are changing, their culture is changing. There's a massive amount of use cases there. We look at big organisations, massive global organisations, manufacturers like Renault, for example. There'll be many brokers and insurers listening to us today who have them as a client. They're manufacturing plants, they're digitised. They've created digital twins so that they can streamline their operations. They're connecting their supply chain. When our customers are out innovating us, that's when we really need to sit up and take notice, because we need to start thinking, okay, what use cases are there where our capacity and our experience can improve their business model and their customers' experience?
Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. And you mentioned there as well, the London market. You said the survey, it was 80% of people are over 30. So we have a sort of a fairly heavy age-weighted industry. So, and I realise this is probably a loaded question, but should we be looking to this younger generation, the sort of digital natives, for these sort of latest innovations and thought, or is this a whole industry problem? How do we do that? Because probably the temptation is to go and hire a few graduates who are sort of fresh out of university with these sort of Gen AI skills and go, come and solve all our problems, please. But I suspect that's probably not the way.
I think I've always said you can't be. We're always talking about. We're always seeking to get a more diverse workforce, and I don't think that you can be inclusive by being exclusive. So one of the things that I'm really proud to be part of the 50 over 50 group. There's an amazing initiative in the industry highlighting women over 50. And I think that, there's an enormous amount of expertise in the market that should not go anywhere, and probably isn't going to go anywhere, because you don't learn nuance and detail and experience about specialty sectors overnight, nor can you. But you can combine that with fresh focus, different way of thinking. So I really believe the combination of experience versus fresh perspective is where that is kind of where that center lies. But what I also think is one of the keys is getting that very senior leadership team, and in many cases this senior leadership teams are already really future focused, but in other cases they aren't. They're still they're operating in a hard market, they're doing quite well, all of these things. So the sort of themes and trends that many of us are talking about now still seem sort of left of centre to them. And again, that's certainly not representative of the entire market, but it is in pockets. So I think that by getting our leaders to be digitally fluent, to truly understand what the client sector change is happening and how that needs to filter up, I see that as one of the keys that will unlock our innovation potential.
And did you find it's easy to convince businesses that this is the way of doing it? It feels like a sort of similar thing, like get some good technology, you're going to be better at business, like hire the best people, you're going to be good at business. Get everyone to be better at innovation, that's going to be good for business. Do you, when you're speaking to companies, do you kind of make this more tangible? Well, what are the kind of outcomes that you're sort of telling insurers they're going to get from this?
Yeah, well, we are kind of, in the same way that the market, has leaders and followers, we see organisations who are really at the forefront of this, and then others who are still, waiting to see. But essentially, if you embed if you have talented people and yet your model is not changing, they're still focusing on traditional risk, and it's not seeing any sort of there's no roadmap to extend those products they're offering, what's going to happen? They're going to lose interest. They're going to not be engaged. So lots of forward-thinking organisations know that to retain their talented people, they have to give them interesting topics and interesting education to be able to energise and put those brilliant minds to brilliant work. Old concepts are going to keep getting old business, and old business, old business is, well, it's not going to grow, is it?
No, it's right. And I think there's a bit of companies are sort of not hiding behind, but the hard market is masking, I think, a little bit of where you've got these leaders and laggards. When a hard market, everyone's happy and making money. When the market probably inevitably turns, then it's gonna change around a little bit. And I guess we'll see the ones who are sort of embracing this. And I mean, and have you seen? Probably can't go into too much detail with the companies in particular, but what sort of really great examples have you seen where people have gone away and changed the way they're doing things and are innovating more? Have you got some examples of where you've seen this sort of actively happening in the market?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's lots of examples of where innovation is happening in the market. We tend to look at it as a an overarching entity, don't we? So we're kind of like, well, it's slow to turn. But if you look, so one of our Digital Minds alumni, a guy called Alistair Blundy, fantastically innovative mind, aviation underwriter, now CEO of Skyrisk. Skyrisk is a great example of where insurance sees trends and themes of their sort of traditional market and see how it's growing. So you look at something like Skyrisk, which is now back with capacity from Convex. They are looking to provide capacity for advanced mobility in the aviation sector. Really, really, really fascinating. So somebody like Alistair and Skyrisk, they understood the problem. They understood that there is a need to offer protection for that evolving marketplace. What we're looking to move to 100% electric aircraft. Not sure I'm going to go on holiday on one of those anytime soon.
Okay.
But, electric aircraft, autonomous aircraft cargo, vertical takeoff and landing. This market sector is growing, and a traditional underwriting product isn't going to cut it. So you've now got, an MGA that's just been launched, great capacity, great expertise. So now in the London insurance market, we are able to offer protection for that emerging marketplace, and potentially, certainly, maybe it's one of the only capacity offerers right now. So you're certainly a leader, and will continue to grow. Another example, we've got MIC Global, Syndicate and Lloyd's, offering embedded insurance via digitized and AI platforms. So again, growing and growing. the ability to offer banks and other financial services access to the London insurance market via embedded products, via fully automated processes. Those things are out there and have been established for quite some time, but we're just not shining the light on them.
You know, the sometimes the frustrating thing for me is in the insurance industry that it is this. You talked about innovation sometimes sort of being incremental as opposed to transformational, and I don't. I find that really frustrating sometimes because it's slow and it takes a long time, and I want things to change more rapidly, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I've always had a few ideas, but I'm curious as like if you could sort of immediately change one thing around our industry, if such a thing was possible, what would it be?
Oh, a magic wand.
A magic wand. You've got a magic wand today.
A magic wand. Well, I have a wish that I don't want to waste my magic wand on. So I suppose I would say, can we just say that we all would like to fully transform legacy systems? So let's just say, I'm not going to waste my entire wish on that, though. If we could digitize all of our legacy platforms, then let's say that that's happened. Well, mine is not around technology. It's about embedding the skill. I guess I would say it's about growing the skill set to make technology a ubiquitous tool. And I think what I would probably look to do there is to say, let's take all of the vertical role development pathways. So, every industry, every organization in our industry will have had and probably still has the underwriting assistant underwriter, class underwriter, etc., that kind of vertical. I'd love to take those career pathways and add a horizontal skill set across all of them. So absolutely keep that domain expertise, massively important, although what it looks like will change. But I think adding that, horizontal requirements. So we've got digital fluency, we've got curiosity, adaptability, agility. In essence, we EDII, we talk a lot about adding generalist capabilities to your specialist skill set, and I think that's massively important. We are seeing, I've got a couple of generalists in my sort of mind when I think about that, who are now leading massive international organizations. So they the two in question were originally actuaries, then they were chief actuaries, and now they are CEO and chief underwriting officer of different big brands that we would know about. And they are leading successful cultural and innovative change because they have got this horizontal skill set that is helping cascade that throughout their organizations. So that's what I would, EDII, horizontal skill set for all.
That would be an awesome thing to change. And actually that leads into one of my things as well. Working with technology over the years, it's all very well to go and do some big transformation project, do it successfully, which in itself is incredibly difficult. But given you've done the transformation successfully, you can't then expect all of a sudden, now we've waved the magic wand and we've got to where we are. Because if you don't then help the culture change to be data driven, technology driven, give them this sort of generalist bit that you were talking about, then the transformation won't work. Technology for technology's sake it doesn't do anything. You've got to have that mindset change, and you've got to have the people embracing it. So I'm definitely a big part of transformation, technology transformation, but with cultural transformation at the same time. And I think that's kind of what you're saying there. Yeah.
Totally. I'm going to give a shout out actually to Nick Lyne at Markel, because he's that chief underwriting officer that I have in mind. He's come from that actuarial background to chief actuarial background, absolutely well known in the actuarial world for being, very, very forward thinking, now doing the same for Markel International on the CUO side, because of his knowledge and understanding that the horizontal pillar needs to be tip top in order for all of that cultural change to be able to adopt any kind of technology.
This has been brilliant. I've got one more question, which I asked to everyone actually, and we kind of touched on it a little bit before. And maybe without the magic wand, what do you think insurers should be doing like now to prepare for the probably inevitable soft market to come?
Well, I think we're looking at different lines, classes of business, aren't we? Where would you say that inevitable soft market's going to land sooner rather than later?
First,
Yeah.
I'm already hearing talks in some of the financial lines classes, and even in sort of general aviation, larger aviation less so, but started to see pockets where competition has started to increase again, to the point where rates are flat, if not starting to fall, as people try and gather new business. So probably in those areas, and then you'll find liability comes a lot later, but will at some point follow. Property again, probably a little bit different, but definitely financial lines and a little bit of aviation starting to see that, and I would expect marine at some point to kind of follow suit.
So we can have this conversation this time next year. It's Halloween today. That's a good day. We'll remember it, won't we? We'll remember it. Yeah. So. Oh, what would I say? What's good practice? Full stop is kind of what I would say. So whether you're in a hard or soft market, customers want to feel that you know them. Customers want great service. In a soft market, you're going to have to be better at that, aren't you? Because they've got more choice. So you can't rely on scarcity, just to and apathy for people to stay with you. So what I would say is skills that organisations need to really, really, double down on when competition is high, when pricing is low. It's understanding their customer, it's understanding segmentation, it's getting great insights into what product lines are doing well for you, what's going on in those areas, what those customers want, how you can adapt. So again, if we're talking about technology slant on it, it's all about having information at your fingertips, isn't it? It's not guessing. So we're looking at technology. So you're looking at AI-driven dashboards, you're looking at data-driven insights, you're looking at data-driven decision-making to help those, sort of humans. We do a lot of work with an organisation called Send Technology. Fantastic. There's some insurers who are already benefiting from their AI-powered dashboards. The underwriters are finding that it's giving them so much more insight that they're able to adapt their product set more dynamically. They're able to understand what that target market looks like at the moment, what changes have happened and what's coming along the future. So I would say that to navigate any kind of circular, that word, whatever it is, to navigate any changes in pricing and market models and behaviours, obviously data is key. So partnering now with really, organisations that have your same values and understand you and have that expertise is what is going to help you, secure your capability for any changes that are ahead.
You would say exactly the same as I said. I agree literally with everything you're saying there. The data driven decision making is completely critical. You need to, you said it yourself, have the data at the fingertips, right? So you can make those best decisions, which can help you drive the business forward, can help identify those margins when the margins are getting tighter. Literally could not agree more. This is an absolute critical piece. And again, technology, like companies like Send and others who can help with this, you need to embrace that and again enable your underwriters to be making the best decisions they can. So I couldn't agree more.
I'll just sort of wrap that up with a little quote from one of my really amazing associates, Catherine Bryant, who runs the Insurance Breakfast Club. One of the tenets that she shares with her delegates is don't wait till you need a network to build one. And I think that can apply here as well. Don't wait. Start these partnerships now, because if they are true partnerships, don't wait until you suddenly think, we're about to lose this account.
It's too late.
Start now.
It's too late.
It's too late by then. Start having these partnerships with a brilliant, genius, insurance-led technology companies now, so they can help you navigate and take advantage of what's to come.
Perfect. I think that's an absolute perfect time to end that, and that's a great quote as well. So, Caroline, thank you very much for joining. It's been a pleasure chatting.
I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for asking me.
No worries. A massive thanks to Caroline for that. I really enjoyed our conversation. So much to think about, so much to unpack, talking through digital natives, transformation, and the need to educate across the insurance sector. If you enjoyed that, check out episode 1, where I was talking to Caroline McDonald on women in insurance and transformation, and also episode 6, where I spoke to Alice McGowan on transformation and DE&I. And that concludes our episode of Tech Talks. If you enjoyed today's show and want to find out more about the topics discussed, head over to hyperexponential.com to gain access to a range of resources relating to this episode. The link is in the description, and of course, wherever you're listening to this podcast, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave us a comment or review. Thanks so much for joining us, and see you next time. Bye.